Experts say Ethiopia's agriculture policy lacks inclusiveness. And Uganda votes in 10th presidential election. Greetings everyone and a very warm welcome to Addis News Hour. With the news, I'm Shifarao Lakao. President Sahle-Work Zewde of Ethiopia held a telephone discussion with President Sauli Niinisto of Finland. The presidents had an extensive conversation on the latest developments and the humanitarian situation in the Tigray state. They also exchanged views on the stability of the Horn of Africa as a whole. The presidents shared their concerns about global problems, particularly the coronavirus pandemic and climate change. In addition, the presidents noted the need to continue bilateral cooperation between Ethiopia and Finland. Stakeholders say Ethiopia's resources in the lowland areas remain to be untapped due to lack of knowledge and economic shortcomings. At this work, panelists overviewed new agriculture policy developments that encompasses pastoralists and potential resources of lowland areas. Goshu Melissa presents the story as follows.
At this walk, a forum which is organized by the Office of Prime Minister discusses on various crucial issues for nation building and policy input. Private and government stakeholders took part in the forum titled Lowland Areas Pastoralist Development Journey. The lowland areas account for 60% of the country's land areas and 14% of the total population. Reflected on the panel, there is a gap, the way some media state pastoralists, said the panelist.
I think it does not represent pastoralists who always follow the tail of the cattle. They look for resource. Unless the government supports pastoralists to lead their livelihood sustainably, only resettling the farmer does not help the community. The people may be resettled, but the cattle needs mobility.
Hania also mentioned that the nation's agriculture policy has some limitation to include pastoralists.
The nation policy lacks inclusiveness to address pastoralists. Some investment activity took place in a few irrigation available areas, but it's not satisfactory and centered pastoralist. If the government wants to ensure sustainable development, the pastoralist community should be included.
On the other hand, Somali Region Water and Irrigation Bureau head said more than 95% of Ethiopian livestock and meat export are from pastoral areas. According to him, works that has been done to ensure economic beneficiary of the pastoralists have some gaps.
The life of the pastoralist is depending on the livestock. Pastoralists cannot survive without cattle. The policy says let resettle the pastoralists are done to improve their livelihood. Instead of stating how much their life improved, reporting a score of resettled pastoralists was disclosed as a success.
እንደ ሰክሰስ ሲቆጠር የነበረው ምን ያህል ነው የሰፈረው ምን ያህል ነው በመንደር ያሰባሰብነው አይነት ነው እንጂ ይሄ የሰፈረው ምን ያደረገ ነው የሚል ጥያቄ ነበር።
The Ministry of Agriculture for its part said it has planned to work taking into account the previous problems in the lowland areas.
ቀደም ሲል የነበሩት ጥረቶች
The previous system had a problem to ensure the pastoralists' way of life, since large private and governmental farming investment activities could not ensure pastoralists' life. We will revise program taking in considering the previous problem to ensure beneficiaries of pastoralists.
Lowland area is endowed with lots of water resources, but it is not utilized properly due to lack of knowledge and economic challenges, said Ministry of Agriculture. Research-based investment in lowland area has a nationwide advantage, it was learned.
Now, Ethiopian Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Demeke Mekonnen met with his Austrian counterpart Alexander Schallenberg. The Austrian Foreign Minister accentuated that Ethiopia is an important strategic country that plays a key role in the region. Ethiopian Foreign Affairs spokesperson Dina Mufti said Austrian Foreign Minister's visit to Ethiopia heralds the increasing cooperation of the two nations, particularly in the investment sector. Have a listen.
The Austrian Foreign Minister also expressed his commitment towards strengthening Ethiopia-Austrian relationship and his commitment towards upgrading the cooperation between the two countries.
Ambassador Dina confirmed Austria's firm stance to bolster ties with Ethiopia in various development issues.
In the areas of trade, for example, and other areas as well, it was a very productive and wonderful discussion that has taken place.
Now, moving on, political parties have been urged to work hard to create a peaceful competition so that the 6th national election will open a new chapter of democracy. A consultation meeting of political parties operating in the southern state has been held in Hawassa. Emmanuel Jorge presents the story as follows.
A joint council of South Region's political parties represents 12 legally recognized national and regional political parties operating in the South Region. Members of the joint council discussed the draft document of ethical codes, guiding principles and ground rules of their works which they work together in the coming time. The committee who prepared the draft clarified and answered the questions raised by the participants of the meeting.
We believe that the establishment of this council lays a big foundation. Rather than going off with local issues to the National Political Parties Council in Addis Ababa, even if donor council are going to be established by near future, it enables to get response without any delay. The work is there down on the ground, meaning in locality, district and in zonal level. Does the region really give training of this document to the zonal representatives? To prevent such problems, I gave the official letter on which the Prime Minister has to put his signature on it to my zone where I live. Let you see this. We are accountable if there is any problem in our activity. You also need to understand that you have a responsibility to respect it.
The reform will be tested and or will prosper. What will be tested is the commitment mentioned before a while on part of the government and our commitment to work within accordance of the Constitution and other laws. If we both do so, the reform will be prosper.
The meeting calls all political parties to play their role by ensuring peace, to let the public choose in freedom who to vote, and to let the political parties campaign without restrictions.
It has been made clear in the document that we give priority for ensuring the rule of law. I believe that this is so decisive. When we go to the implementation, all states should play their role, because we cannot leave this issue only for the government.
Representing the region's Prosperity Party, head of political ideology divisions Sintayo Walde Mikhail said they are working on multiple reform activities to let opposition parties compete in equality.
Except we created a true democratic system, we cannot achieve our goal to lead this country in a holistic prosperity journey. Prosperity has started the reform keeping this in mind. We, the Prosperity Party, gave equivalent focus to making the election just and peaceful as we focused to win the election.
Agreeing on creating awareness up to grassroots level about the ground rules, meeting of the council is concluded by approving 2 agendas.
Welcome back. Inclusive, relevant, and high-quality education will foster Africa-centered science and innovation, unleashing the untapped potential of young Africans. Ethiopian candidate for AU Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation, Professor Hirut Woldemariam, made the remark in an exclusive interview with ETV English. The professor, who has multidisciplinary expertise in the areas, contends that to create Pan-African scientists and technocrats, Africa should focus on indigenous knowledge rather than copying from remote countries. The story is presented as follows. Some call her the fearless woman still on the rise, Professor Hirut Woldemariam. The former Science and Higher Education Minister has worked in various top government positions, including 3 ministerial portfolios before being the social advisor to the Prime Minister, with also ministerial rank. She has also received various awards and recognitions, especially for her contributions to the education sector. Ethiopian candidate for AU Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Hirut Woldemariam says there is no greater calling than working for the beloved continent of Africa for the sake of its advancement and global influence.
So my vision is to unleash African minds, to unleash the potential of African youth through quality education and training and science and technology, so that they can contribute to the advancement of the continent. I mean, that's our right. I mean, it's our time for Africa. But unless we, ensure that we are having quality education system and Africa-relevant technology and innovation, then forget it. We can't change.
Access to relevant, high-quality, indigenous and inclusive education, but shored up by the latest technology and innovation, is her motto. And if selected, she will champion for this.
Well, my number one priority is to ensure access to education for all. I mean, we have it written in the document, but it hasn't yet been realized. So I really want to find a way to supply access to education for all African children and kids. And the other one is to improve quality of education, and to ensure relevance of education and training in Africa. And the other key priority I have is to ensure revitalization of African universities and schools. They have to be revitalized, and the ecosystem of education, science, technology, and innovation should involve all stakeholders in such a way that they have to, African universities and African schools need to reform themselves.
She also contends that there are few people working at the AU, and this is in the face of the fact that Ethiopia is the founding member and seat of the African Union.
Ethiopia is a founding member of African Union, and Ethiopia is hosting African Union here in Addis. But we have never been, taking up a top leadership position in the African Union. So I think there is also a question of fairness. I think we need to take part. We need to involve in the leadership of this prestigious and very useful, important institution, African Union. And I'm looking forward. I'm very much excited, and I'm very much enthusiastic to work at the continental level, using my rich experience in the portfolio.
With all the necessary qualities, educational background and expertise to support her race for the candidacy, Professor Hirut contends that harmonization of educational accreditation system will help ensure standardized education throughout the continent. This will also go along with her determination to work for the realization of Agenda 2063, which she argues will only be realized by unleashing the homegrown knowledge of the youth through the expansion of technology tailored to meet the needs of Africans.
This year's celebration is equally warm and appealing as last year's. It's very exciting to be here. It's peaceful here and a wonderful holiday.
It is my time to celebrate Epiphany here. I'm so happy, and I would like to say Happy Epiphany to all.
This festival, time to time, is being liked by tourists who come here from across the world. It's so exciting that you wouldn't want to miss it for the world.
Epiphany ceremony of Christ celebrated throughout the world. The unique part in Ethiopia is we adore it, venerate Ark of the Covenant. This is one. The second one is there is a thing throughout the world. That is, this is the water who deprived me not to baptize. This is said by an Ethiopian eunuch during the time of Christ's ascension. The composer of this song is an Ethiopian eunuch, Bakos. This is another peculiar sing for Ethiopian Orthodox Church.
Welcome back, you're still watching Addis News Hour. The 32nd Motorized Battalion serving under the African Union Mission in Somalia Sector 3 has received medals. Chief Commander of the 32nd Motorized Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Abarra Aseye, and Deputy Commander of the 11th Mechanized Battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Desalegn Abata, presented the awards to the troops. Lieutenant Colonel Desalegn on the occasion expressed his pride over the successful achievement and completion of the mission. Lieutenant Colonel Abarra said peacekeepers should improve their good reputation in peacekeeping mission by effectively fulfilling the mission given by the people and government of Ethiopia. Long-time President Yoweri Museveni has been competing against opposition frontrunner Bobi Wine, a pop star turned opposition leader. 2/3 of the country's registered voters are under the age of 30, and many feel disconnected from politics. Kasam Chani has more on that from Al Jazeera.
There's no one here who's age 35 or older in this popular food kiosk. On the outskirts of Kampala, politics dominates the conversation, however some including Richard Chigani.
I want to vote, but I could not register. I lost my ID card and the process of getting another one is long.
In the past, as part of our upbringing, we thought it was up to the elders to decide on the country's affairs. But looking at the social and economic challenges we are facing, I think it's time to stand up and claim our rightful position in politics.
2/3 of registered voters are below the age of 30, which means they have only ever seen 76-year-old President Yoweri Museveni in power. Museveni started a social media campaign recently to try and gain young people's support. He exercises and takes part in popular dance challenges, among other things. Uganda has the second largest young population on the continent of Tunisia. Most here tell us they are marginalized. They say they have no jobs and feel disconnected from their country's leadership. But in previous elections, many have been reluctant to engage in politics or even vote. 38-year-old Bobi Wine, pop star turned politician and the president's strongest challenger, is banking on the voters of his generation to back him.
There has been, in the past years, a very big divide, a very big gap between young people and the way they are governed. However, for the last 3 years, we have been sensitizing people, connecting them to the politics of their country.
President Museveni's supporters say he still has a huge support base, especially in rural areas.
President Museveni has a vision. It's a vision he has shared with Ugandans. It is about a transformation for this country. And for as long as Ugandans believe he's the right person to steer this country in that direction, I'm sure they're going to give him that mandate.
Back at the food kiosk, they say they want change, they want jobs, lower taxes, and money in their pockets.
And finally, a quick reminder of the top stories. Experts say Ethiopia's agriculture policy lacks inclusiveness. And Uganda votes in 10th presidential election. And with that, we come to the end of this news edition. Many thanks indeed for watching us. Bye-bye.